What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful here with a name you know. We've interviewed him a couple times over the last year, but man, things keep changing for the guy. We got Steve Maclin here. Steve, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
It seems like you're doing fantastic.
Can't complain.
It seems like every time I talk to you, you're doing progressively better.
Yes. So all we can do.
Yes.
Get better.
So, I mean, let's go back to the first time I talked to you on camera, and it was right after a WWE release, and who knew what was going to happen there. The second time I talked to you, you had firmly joined Impact Wrestling, and it looked like things were going great. And things have only went up since then. Like, this ascent has to make you feel good about the way that things unfolded over the past year plus, right?
Yeah, I'm very lucky that Impact has given me this platform to show my skills and what I knew I was the whole time. And now I'm building that confidence as well on myself, which is actually another level for me because it's getting to have these matches with a Saban, a Jay White, who I beat at Rebellion, having with Ishii, and getting that door now to open up a little bit maybe for New Japan down the road. And it's just, I'm having a blast. I love pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, love pro wrestling. Deonna says too much you like pro wrestling.
Yeah, I tend to not shut off sometimes, but there are times I do, which you maybe exaggerate a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I'm having a blast.
So man, there's so much to get into just in the last few months that it's been since I've talked to you. But looking back on where you were a year ago and where you are now, what does that tell you about yourself? You had these vignettes that were self-made, self-produced. You had them done. Impact liked them so much, they're like, yeah, give us those. That'd be cool. And not only that, you're on this huge winning streak. You're in the ring with Switchblade Jay White, who not only is he a big name, but if New Japan's loaning him to Impact, they want somebody in the ring with him that they know is going to make him look good, make them look good, all that. Like, what can you say about that choice to join Impact Wrestling?
I appreciate the confidence they had in me to put me in that position, and that's one of those things where I know I can step up when needed, and that's all I've been doing since I've been here. As soon as I hand me the ball, I'm running with it. There's nothing to stop me from it.
That Trey feud really, like, it launched you. Like, it was really emotional, and it not only that, it was emotional based on like the competitive spirit between you two. I believe that every single thing that I saw you two do, that you were doing to win the match or hurt the other person. And it started from you wanted to win the match to eventually it felt like you wanted to hurt the guy because you had met sort of your match, your equal there. As that's going on, like, did you know pretty early on, like, this is going to last, this is going to be a while, this is going to be the one that kind of sets me apart in Impact Wrestling?
I think when Trey and I first touched, I think it was on a BTI, we kind of knew going into the match, all right, let's give them something that makes the office know that this has to be something they show down the road. This is a program they can go with. And I think we did that the first time. And then once we started kind of knowing where the story was going and how the build was going to go, eventually it became Hard to Kill. And that's what we wanted to tell that story of at Hard to Kill, is that both of us were very hard to kill. And in the end, granted he won, but I was very proven to show that it was hard to kill. And I think that's what put me on the map out there, especially with Trey, who one of the best talents in the world, I think. He's just a video game wrestler, can do anything and everything you think of, and I love him for it, and it's so much fun, and the creative mind he has too. But yeah, just having that feud and just kind of getting my character even more over the top out there to show people who I am.
So when they first told you you're going to be working in the X Division, how did you feel about that? Because
I was excited, believe me, I was excited.
I wondered.
Huge fan of the X Division for so long, and I think it adds to it when you do get the different aspects and the different types of styles that come into it. Me, for being a brute guy who can be there to catch the guys or base however certainly that you want to go, but at the same time slow the match down. And that's the fast pace of the X Division match, but when it is slowed down, you can tell those stories.
So, I mean, I think we're close to the same age. Were you like taking in the X Division like in the P.D. Williams, AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Sanjay Dutt era?
That was kind of my introduction to Impact, well, TNA at the time.
Yeah.
But that was my introduction because I was kind of falling out of wrestling a little bit, was watching still a little bit of WWE at the time, 04, 05, and then TNA was kind of like that ECW moment. It was like, oh wow, what is this? And it was just something else because WCW was gone, and it was just trying to find that other avenue to watch wrestling as a fan. And that was something that drew me in, and especially Samoa Joe. he fit into that mold, and that's kind of how I looked at myself going into the X Division when I was told, like, all right, I have to kind of mold a little bit after what Joe did and just kind of progress that and make it my own.
Do you like the Paparazzi Championship Series? Kevin Nash stuff?
Yeah.
That was my shit right there. I love that. I loved that. I thought that added a lot of flavor, and that's one of the things I've liked about the X Division. They always say it's about no limits. And I thought putting you in there was great, because people don't immediately think, okay, here's a Tope Con Hero from Steve Maclin, there's a 450 from Steve Maclin. I keep saying it was like if Rhino was in his prime, and they're like, X Division, and it's like 100 miles an hour that makes sense. Like, you're not going to get in a wreck because you know how to drive type of thing. And every time I watched that, I was like, oh my God, this works so well. The styles clash, but the pace is so perfect that it makes sense. Like, it's like you altered your pace because you knew what your opponent's pace was going to be. You had to match, you had to drop that down. What type of psychology adjustments did you have to make going to that from the pace that you worked in WWE?
Oh, it's just picking your spots, and it's the clash of styles. Like, there's no different style in wrestling, well, pro wrestling, I should say. Granted, WWE has a sports entertainment style where you're telling a story, getting these characters over, and it builds the biggest match possible, which usually is WrestleMania or whatever the main event is at SummerSlam, Survivor Series, you know what I mean. But trying to get myself into those stories, it allows me to slow it down so that when it does have to pick up the pace, the crowd kind of sits up a little bit more.
Yeah.
They stand up a little bit more, like, holy crap, I've never seen this before. Where it's like, you don't have to go out there every night and do everything under the sun. It's pick your spots, pick your moments, and I think that's what shines. And I think that's what talent, I think, needs to do more of nowadays. For just at my preference, I just like to pick my spots where we have to work 365. You're not going to do 450s off the top rope every night. It's going to eventually catch up to you. So it's just finding those little things there that fit. And that was the one thing that I thought I could bring to the mold of just fitting in that way.
How would you compare the creative process and Impact to that in WWE or even NXT? Because I'm sure that the NXT and WWE creative processes were categorically different.
Yeah, it's very more relaxed here. It's very more kind of sit here, throw ideas. They kind of get a creative process, they understand, and I kind of like that we have communication. WWE has their style. That's just their way they work. They're an entertainment company. They have what they want and what Vince wants, and then it just trickles down, and that's how it works. You have your input here and there, but kind of here at Impact, it's very more open. It's very more just back and forth conversation. Like, hey, I have this idea. How does this work? If it says no, it's like, okay, cool. What's your thoughts? And then you feed off of each other.
So when you came to Impact, was there anything necessarily that like surprised you that you're like, man, I really like how it's done here? Or if you want to bury somebody, say, I hate how it works here. It sucks. Gail Kim, what's she doing here?
No, it's just, like I said, very more relaxed, and it's kind of been fun where I've got to know the producers, I've got to know the coaches that are here to help behind the scenes, and then knowing Scott, and it's just communication. That's what it comes down to, and it's a smaller bubble. And WWE, like I said, is that entertainment company where what Vince wants, and that's how it's going to go. It's his show. Here, it's very open.
So, as I mentioned, Impact has an incredible amount of confidence in you. You went on that big winning streak. You set up a prominent match, but then on one of their biggest pay-per-views of the year, they're like, hey, you're in there with former world champion Chris Sabin, you're in there with Switchblade Jay White, former IWGP champion, and that was a match that so many people were talking about when it was over. How did that feel? Because, I mean, again, you came from a situation 1 year ago where anybody that had worked with you knew how great you were, but a lot of fans maybe didn't know because they didn't have that opportunity to see what you could do.
I take pride in what I do. And to be able to, like I said, showcase my talents, and to be in there with the Sabin, to be in there with the Switchblade and Jay White, and to beat them on the same night of Rebellion. It's an honor because it just shows the trust that the company has in me right now and where we're going to go and what I feel where we're going to go. And I love it here. This is my home, and it feels great.
I know you did a lot of great work with Forgotten Sons, but how does it feel to like almost never hear like that's the guy from the Forgotten Sons anymore?
I tend to hear it still.
I'm sure because it's coming to you, so it's easy for me to say that.
But that's how fans kind of like know me.
Yes.
They know my face from being that, so it's kind of good now where I'm out on my own. Granted, Blake and I are tagging on Independence at PW Revolver, and but it's kind of nice that now I'm my own, pretty much my own. I'm separating myself. I'm Steve Maclin. You are looking at the future Impact World Champion.
And you're like, well, they know my face from that. Barely, because you don't look the same.
No, I do not.
As you did.
Even when we were knights.
I know. You aged 10 years in reverse by changing your hair. Like, what was that for you? Because you've had several different looks. Like, if you Google Steve Cutler, Steve Maclin, you're gonna like see people and you're gonna go, is that the same guy? Like 3 or 4 times.
If you come into our house, there's different photos with Deonna and I, and she looks the same. I look completely different in every damn photo.
Oh, it's amazing. How does she feel about it?
She likes kind of how I've cleaned myself up the way I am now, but she's fine. She knew I was trying to find myself and find the look that I wanted to have, and I think I'm where I want to be. I even got asked that question the other day. I was like, oh, are you gonna shave your head again? I'm like, oh, when the time is right. Like I said, picking your spots and doing things that work towards character and story. But I'm happy with what I'm doing right now.
And I mean, you're killing it right now. You're getting all this buzz. I mean, we've seen your repertoire like expand, but like I said, we didn't get to see it expand within the confines of WWE. We saw it sometimes in NXT and live events, especially. There was a lot of great stuff there. But is there anything that has stood out to you where people have been like, oh my gosh, he can do that, or oh my gosh, he does that, and you're like, I've been able to do that all along?
Actually, at the Rebellion pay-per-view, after I did the dive, after the match was over, came back, one of the fans on my way out was like, oh, thanks for killing yourself. Appreciate it. Thank you. At least someone understands what I'm doing. But no, I just take pride in what I do. That's ultimately what it is. And I know when I go out there, I'm giving my all. And if what I'm doing to entertain the fans, if it's entertaining them, hopefully it is. If not, I guess they're not buying a ticket to see me.
You mentioned teaming with Blake again. I mean, you've been very transparent about how you had kind of said, listen, man, I'd love to team with you again. Got to find myself type of thing. And then you all did go back to it. And it was great. It was at that Pro Wrestling Revolver show. Sami Callihan doing great work there. But what was that like? And like, what sort of went back into that when you all started to team again? Was there a conversation where you're like, all right, it's time?
No, we kind of knew where it's going to come to a certain moment. Like, we're just waiting to pick our spot. And when the time was right, and Sammy gave us the call, said, hey, come work the Wolves. David Richards and Ed Edwards were like, yes.
How could you say no?
Yes, it's a dream match of ours. And just tag again, he's my brother. And we talk every day. Actually, I still owe him a phone call right now to call him back. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to just be in the ring again. I was smiling the whole time. There's no way for me to be angry when we're out there together. We're just having fun. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, you don't smile a lot. I'm like, no, I'm happy when I'm happy.
So, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that you want to work in a singles capacity, and I do want to talk about that momentarily, but like, we're here as we film this at Under Siege. Briscoes are working tonight. I'm sure that, like, ideally you'd love a chance to get in there with your brother going against the Briscoes, or going against a Bullet Club combination, or Motor City Machine Guns, so many of these teams that are still in their primes, but like were like 10 years ago as well.
Yeah, and that's the longevity of what these people are doing, and talent across the board is working smarter nowadays. And for me and Blake to be able to get that somewhere down the road, hopefully. Right now, obviously, Steve Maclin, I'm on my own, but when it does come to POS, Prisoners Society with Blake and I, it's whenever they need it.
What's one wrestling move you hate? You just hate, you loathe. I'm not asking you to control your narrative or anything here and ban like super kicks.
I don't. What's something that's so overused now? It's when somebody runs into hit the ropes and they do the follow through, and then you know what I'm talking about when it's the mirror. It's done in almost every match where strike, somebody takes off, they hit the ropes, other person follows in and then comes off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's done in every match.
So I'm interested in your philosophy on Irish whips, because you know that's the thing that people always point out, and they're like, oh well, it's fake because an Irish whip, and I'm like, wait, you can't compare that to a street fight, because what happens if you don't turn into the ropes when you get Irish whipped? You're gonna fall. Somebody's gonna come from behind you and clock you.
Those ropes hurt.
They hurt. Like, it makes sense for you to turn into those ropes, and like from the sense of like training and learning how to fall and all that stuff. Like, there's a kayfabe reason to train to pro wrestle. It's so you don't get paralyzed every time you take a body slam or anything like that. You learn how to brace for that impact. And like the Irish whip thing, I'm like, look what happened to Enzo.
Look what happened to Bobby Lashley.
Look what happened to Bobby Lashley. Look what happened to them whenever they didn't turn in for an Irish whip. It makes sense for that. One thing that I would love to see come back is like the selling of punches. And I always heard Al Snow talk about that. And it's like, well, the closed fist was illegal because it knocked people out and it broke people's hands and all that stuff. Is there anything specifically like that you try to implement or stay away from that you think would benefit other people?
I'm not a big fan of chops, even though if I get chopped,
Sure.
I'll chop back. Just because you always get the woo. But then sometimes some crowds don't do it and they're into just the sound and the physicality. And that's fine.
The reason for that was because punches were banned.
Yes.
That was why.
But no, I try to just work as best as I can to my best of my ability and what my opponent's doing and how we put a match together and kind of go that way. But at the same time, things change out there and you just go with it.
And I mean, I know that for as much wrestling as you study, putting matches together has got to be something that you take great pride in. Is that something that, like, after your career, you want to remain implemented with and involved with?
I heard you tell Deonna that in the interview.
Yeah. Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
Speak of the devil. Camera.
I was texting, wondering where the hell you were.
Well, I mean, listen, more important people showed up at this. More important people showing up here, you know.
It's my future wife here.
There you go. I had her show off the foreign object on her hand. Like, listen, she's gonna slip that on tonight, clock tie up,
You never know.
win the title back.
It's possible.
There you go.
Okay, well,
All right.
I'll see you.
We're just over here putting you over.
Yeah, we're just putting you
As you
over.
would. Who doesn't?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh! Look,
Dynamite.
look at what our camera woman's wearing. On top of that, look at that.
Great
Look at
shirt.
that.
This is why we're
Our camera
this is
woman's
why we're best friends,
mark.
and I tell her more than I tell
A
you.
mark. Our camera
It's
woman.
okay to be a mark.
She goes, "Should I wear a Fightful shirt?" I said, "No, please don't wear a Fightful shirt." I was like, "I think you have a Deonna shirt." She was like,
I'm literally wearing a shirt she got me that's just born in a bar. It's USMC.
wearing a plain white tee. But hey, I got the Cassius Clay here. Cassius Clay, even though we're in Cincy, not Louisville, across the river. You told me you've never wrestled in Cincy.
I haven't.
Deonna told me that. Moose had also not wrestled in Cincy. I'm happy that this show is here because I'm ready for the area to kind of explode. What other places have you maybe not hit on that map that might surprise people?
Well, we recently just did Philly.
Wow.
2300 Arena.
Yes.
So that was one of my bucket lists. Hammerstein Ballroom's still there. Madison Square Garden, Tokyo, anywhere in Tokyo, somewhere in Japan. Just want to wrestle in Japan. It's a bucket list.
I feel like you'd fit in really well in Japan. They're getting those visas again.
They're opening up. I'm excited. The future looks good in that, but that's kind of my bucket list right now. But I think Madison Square Garden mostly just because I grew up going to that arena with my grandparents, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to watch Owen and Brett there when I was little, so it's still one of my memories.
Did an interview with Virgil last summer that was so bad. It was so bad because he had people in his ear feeding him answers, and he said, "Be a Joey Janela would sell out the Garden." And I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "The Olive Garden." Would you wrestle in an Olive Garden?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
If the time was,
Sure.
if it made sense, yes.
I went to an
I
Olive.
actually,
Go ahead.
I had an idea when we were still on SmackDown, Blake and I. We pitched an idea to wrestle between a Waffle House and an IHOP with New Day, just because we want to do waffles versus pancakes.
Yes,
Did that happen? No.
it should have
That was a
happened.
pitched idea.
Like one of you are on one side throwing waffles at the other. Like, come
It would
on.
have been entertaining.
That would have been fun. Are there any other pitches similar to that you wish would have happened? And I know sometimes, here's what wrestlers do. They're like, no, because I want to save it. I want to save
No,
it.
like a lot of the pitches we had there, I think the one pitch Blake and I had was for us to do kind of the Dukes of Hazzard with Chelsea when she was still there.
Sure.
That was one of the ones where I was like, oh, this could be great. We
Mm-hmm.
could just have fun. We could be idiots. She could just be the hot girl that just attracts everybody, and then all we have to do is just do what we have to do. Just be idiots and be entertaining. Because that's, again, entertainment.
Yes.
And that's what we wanted to do, was just work and be entertaining.
I had heard about that one and I didn't report it because Chelsea was getting so much heat for all the ideas she pitched. And I was like, listen, you have to go into Vince's office.
She's winning Stooge 1 or 2.
She's won. Oh, she's
okay.
won. Yeah, for sure.
Soon to be wife.
Because I met her because people at the PC thought she was feeding me info and I had never spoken to her. And I sent her a screenshot. I was like, just so you know, people think you're feeding me info. But we haven't talked. So when she got fired, she made sure I got her first interview. I was like, thank you so much. And then people were like, she got fired because she fed Sean info.
That's why I love the internet, though.
I love it.
The internet is the best because they will just make up these storylines in their own head when they don't really know.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, you're fans, and I love you for what you chime in and have opinions on, but just be patient and watch things. Just watch wrestling.
And
Just watch wrestling.
there are certainly more products that have got the benefit of the doubt of let it play out.
Yes.
But like I've had so many people who are like, you talk to this person, you talk to that person. I'm like, why would I not make an effort to talk to the people most pertinent to that? And WWE wanted to know who I talked to until they found out who I talked to, and then they were like, we ain't firing them, we ain't letting them go. Like I want to talk to the people that are closest to this and make it less taboo, because I want the most complete story possible. I want the most accurate thing. But poor Chelsea, she was like, people would like come up with memes of the stuff that she'd pitch. They'd be like, oh, well, she's supposed to be Miss Undertaker or something like that, and go on like a 20-year unbeaten WrestleMania streak and stuff like that.
Bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, there you go.
Still is publicity.
So you got a lot of wrestling minds here in Impact, like Lance Storm we were talking about before this. Are there any, like maybe even Lance, that you've meshed with like particularly well?
Tommy Dreamer, D'Lo, kind of that old school mindset, making things mean more and less is more. And they're all three of them are very just good with that concept, and they get me as well, and they get where my ideas are coming from. And if I have an idea to throw to them, I kind of, hey, I have this idea, how does this sound? And they may tweak it here and there, and then we work, like I said, communication. That's what makes this work, is communication.
I want you to steal the Sky High, man. Such a good move.
It's still Angelo Dawkins.
Oh, you're right. But I mean,
I know he's there. Maybe I'll throw it in there.
Different. Were you around to witness? I can't remember what's his team like. Is it Dayton or something? Like when they lost in the tournament. Look who we got here. We got Heath Slater. We got Heath.
He's got kids.
Well, apparently nobody gives a shit about him. Is the rumor? Is the rumor?
Anyway, but no, I was not around. I did love when LeBron was at the playoffs. When Lakers lost.
Okay.
He was upset about that.
Was he?
Yeah, because he's a big LeBron fan. So he went from being a Cleveland Cavs fan, then he went to the Heat, then he went back to the Cavs.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
But he's a LeBron fan.
I don't like it. Listen,
but he's still very loyal to his team. He's very loyal human being to his teams.
I respect him because he's a Cincy guy too. They put him over Andrade at a live event in NXT and in Cincy once. It was a great moment. But I don't follow the player. I follow the team, man. Red's sitting at 3-21 right now. 3-21.
You keep saying sell the team, so.
It's terrible. It's so bad. And the owner was like, where are you going to go? I don't know, literally anywhere else. But like, there are no Cincy basketball teams. There's no Louisville basketball teams.
Kentucky close.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's college basketball. Yeah. So from an NBA perspective, I kind of sympathize with him because, like, he can't say, well, the Cincinnati Royals are going to win the NBA Finals. So he's got to hold on to the glory of LeBron a little bit. But I don't know. What are your teams?
Yankees and Giants.
Okay. Like New York football. Giants football. Okay, that sucked. I'm sorry for that.
No, really, good draft. They had a great draft this year.
They had a great draft. Eli got him a couple rings. I mean, you know what? I guess it's not that much of a sorry.
Could be worse. Could be a Cowboys fan.
That's true. Very true. They paid a guy to go away and come to the Bengals, and I'm so excited that Joe Burrow is not going to get murdered every time I go to Paul Brown Stadium now. So the Yankees,
#1 team right now, best record in baseball.
And you're from Jersey, right?
They'll blow it soon, and then baseball will pick up again in July.
Yeah, but I mean, growing up, it was easy to like the Yankees because I was a little bandwagoning kid. Yeah. But I mean, they've got such a good history. I'm still salty over Paul O'Neill getting traded from the Reds to the Yankees because
him and Bernie were two of my favorites.
Oh my god!
Him and Bernie were my two favorites out there.
Did you ever see when he kicked the ball when he was in Cincy? Oh, it was amazing.
Still.
He was wonderful. And when I was a little kid, that was his last year in Cincy, like 92. So I grew up and I was like, oh my God, Paul O'Neill rules. Then they traded him and the Yankees won like 732 World Series. It was tragic. You into hockey or soccer, anything like that?
No, just football and baseball.
See, you strike me as a guy who would like hockey, so I'm surprised by that.
I like going to the games.
Yes.
Just watching it, I'm just like, if there's a fight on, I'll watch it.
There you go.
Movie Goon I like.
That's a great movie, Sean William Scott.
Yeah,
he is amazing in that movie.
Movies.
He is amazing in that movie. I still haven't got through the second one then. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Is it good?
I liked it.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. I was so excited for it, and then for some reason I never watched it. But The Goon was a phenomenal movie. Like he should have got more work off of that. I miss Sean William Scott. But we were mentioning the wrestling minds around you. One of which we just saw pop in, not Heath Slater. It's Deonna Purrazzo. congrats on the engagement, by the way. I mean, that's also got to feel really good to see her reach the heights that she's reached, because a year before you went through what you went through with a release, she did too, and then she was immediately like sought out by Impact and ROH and all these places. And now AAA's like, let me get some of that. AEW's like, let me have that. And that's got to feel really good to see both of your careers like reach this like ascent right now.
It's awesome in our household right now, but just because I'm so proud of her. She works her ass off, and she goes out there just kind of the way I do, give it our all. And I was so proud of her watching her on Wednesday night on Dynamite, and she looked like a star that she is. I'm looking forward to when we're getting married in November. If we could get married tomorrow, I would. But she won't. She won't let me do that unless we have an actual ceremony in November. But
the old Moxley Renee method, huh?
Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, I'm so excited. The sky's the limit for her. And if you can't notice, and if you didn't notice on Dynamite, and if you haven't noticed with Impact in the past 2 years, I don't know what it is that you don't see in her.
So as we wrap up, we've seen some couples that want to stay away from each other in the ring. We've seen some like Matt and Chelsea who have really leaned into it. It's worked well for them. Is that something that you ever want to do, or is it something you want to keep separate?
If we were to ever do something, yes, if it made sense. That's where both of our minds come together. Like, oh, if we were to do this, I know last year there was talk of us maybe possibly doing the homecoming together as a tag, but it didn't work at that time because I was trying to get my character across and see what it is, and she was already where she was. So it was just trying to find a time, like Blake and I, when does it fit right? And that's one of those things, if it's to happen, it happens.
Steve Maclin, tonight, as we film this, you got a match against Chris Sabin. So excited that you all are in this area. But tell the people where they can follow you, where they can support you, where they can...
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Steve Maclin, Pro Wrestling Tees, Steve Maclin Store, and then Shop Impact Deals, Steve Maclin.
Guys, we're hopefully we'll speak to Steve Maclin again very soon. Always something to talk about, because it's like, oh, you know what, they're signing you to Impact. Oh, well, you got this big match. Oh, you know, you're in the ring with Switchblade Jay White. Oh, you're winning that match. We'll talk to you after you win the Impact title, I'm sure.
Sure.
Guys, until next time, we're out.
Hey guys, this interview brought to you for the price of On the House by NordVPN.com/Fightful. Check out NordVPN.com/Fightful to check all your region blocked shows, get pay-per-views, maybe a little bit more affordably than usual, avoid price discrimination, browse securely, all that good stuff. You can also use the code FIGHTFUL. You'll save 70% off, plus get 1 additional month for free, and it's all backed with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, just let them know you get your money back. There's no risk, and this investment is going to save you money as well, if you so choose. I often find that when I'm traveling, there's certain shows that I can't watch because it says I'm not in my home area. NordVPN.com/Fightful takes care of that.